What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks. And in this video, I'll be going over my full card, picks and predictions, along with bets so far for UFC Vegas 58, Dos Anjos versus Fiziev. First things first, please hit that like button, make friends with that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of my new videos or live streams. So UFC 276 was last night, and overall, it was a pretty good card. It had its stinkers, but it also had its really good fights. I definitely wouldn't put it up there with UFC London or UFC Austin, but like I said, overall, it was a good card. So I finally got my bounce back week. I ended up going 10-1 on my picks, and I ended up winning plus 2.96 units profit. My only bad pick of the night was Jessica Rose Clark, and I will never be picking her again. I gave her one more chance. She totally bombed that fight. She just has zero ground game, and if the fight does get to the mat, she's going to get submitted, so I'll never bet her. I'll never pick her. She's definitely on the fade list. So some of my favorite moments of UFC 276 were the performances of Turner, Pereira, and Volkanovski. So with Turner, this guy is a monster, and he is just improving in every one of his fights. And Riddell is a tough guy. Like, he doesn't get knocked out very easily. I know Fiziev recently knocked him out before this fight, but Turner just went right across the octagon, and he just touched him up and got that sub right after that. And with Pereira, I have no idea why Sean Strickland tried to strike with him after the first couple minutes where he couldn't get anything going. He just kept moving forward right into Pereira, and Pereira eventually landed that left hook of death, and he dropped like a sack of potatoes. So I think that was just a little bit bad fight IQ by Sean Strickland, because he can grapple. He does have good wrestling. But with Pereira, he's just on another level with striking, and I just think he's super dangerous. The next fight probably will be Izzy versus Pereira, and that's going to be a banger. Spoiler alert, I'm probably going to lean Pereira on that one because I think both of them are the same exact style of fighter, but Pereira is just a little bit more dangerous, and I always like to pick those fighters. And finally, with Volkanovski, he just keeps improving each and every fight. And I said it in my predictions video, I just saw way more improvements since the last time Holloway and Volkanovski fought. And I know Holloway's fought a couple times after that, but Volkanovski showed really good improvements, and he showed it here. He dominated all 5 rounds. It wasn't even close. And honestly, I just don't see anybody beating him right now, which I don't blame him for wanting to try to be a double champion, because there's just nobody in the featherweight division that can beat him at the moment. Maybe in a couple years down the line when all the good prospects are starting to come up and they're in their prime, but right now, I don't blame him one bit for trying to be a double champion. And if he's going to try to fight Charlie Olives, not going to happen. Charlie Olives is going to win. I'm going to say it right now, but Volkanovski is a problem. But all right, guys, let's get to my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 58. The first fight we have is Ronnie Lawrence versus Kakhramonov. Lawrence is 8-1, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach. And Kakhramonov is 9-2, 26 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. So this is going to be a fun fight to watch, and with my pick, I'm going to pick Lawrence to win. So Lawrence is going to be the better wrestler, and he also has really good striking, and Kakhramonov is going to be the better grappler with better submissions, and he also has decent striking as well. So I really think this fight's going to stay on the feet. I don't think either one of them are going to want to test their ground game with one another, because they're just going to be playing with fire. And if that's the case, I like Lawrence's chances a little bit more than Kakhramonov's. I think Lawrence has more power. I think his striking is a little bit more technical. And like I said, Lawrence has really good wrestling, so if he does go for takedowns, I do think he'll be able to get him. He just needs to be safe when he's on top, because Kakhramonov has lots of good chokes, lots of good submissions, and he can wrap one up real quick. But with my pick here, I'm going to say Lawrence defends the submissions and outstrikes Kakhramonov on the feet and wins by decision. Next fight we have is Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carl Roberson. Kennedy is 9-3, 30 years old, 6'5", with an 83-inch reach. And Roberson is 9-5, 31 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach. So with my pick here, I'm going to pick Kennedy to win. So this isn't really a hot take by any means, but both these fighters aren't the greatest fighters, but I cannot overlook Kennedy's 4-inch height and massive 9-inch reach advantage here. And with that long reach, he does provide power too, so I do think eventually he's going to be able to knock out Roberson here. I'm just not too impressed with Roberson in his UFC career. He does have decent striking. He's normally a middleweight, so he is moving up again. I know in his last fight he fought at light heavyweight, but he got destroyed by Roundtree. And I know sometimes Kennedy can look slow out there, but like I said, he's just massive. And with that long reach, I just don't think Roberson's going to be able to grapple with him or even take him down. And striking again, I just don't see Roberson knocking out Kennedy either. So with my pick here, I'm going to say Kennedy does get the knockout, maybe in the second round. Moving on up the card, we have Cody Brundage versus Tresean Gore. Brundage is 7-2, 28 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. And Gore is 3-1, 28 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. So with my pick here, I'm going to pick Gore to win. So Gore is going to be the better striker, and it's not even close. And not to mention, he's going to have way more power than Cody, and he's just the more dangerous fighter on the feet. But I will say, though, Gore can be low volume at times. He does like to pick his spots, but in this fight, Cody's not the greatest striker. He's more of a wrestler and grappler. He does have decent submissions, but I just don't think Brundage is going to be able to take down Gore. If he does, it'll be early, but Gore can get back up real easy. He's pretty good at doing that. And another thing to note, in Brundage's last fight, he should have probably lost that fight, but he got real lucky when Dalcha tried to take him down, and he ended up getting a guillotine choke on him because he looked like a fish out of water on the feet, and he was getting pieced up, and it looked like the ref was just about to stop it, and for some reason he didn't, and Brundage got the win there, and that was a good win for him. He came back and fought through adversity, but I don't think it's going to happen again. Gore is going to be able to touch him up and eventually get the knockout because I don't think Brundage likes to get hit too much. So with my pick, I'm going to say Gore wins by knockout. Next fight we have is Antonina Shevchenko versus Courtney Casey. Shevchenko is 9-4, 37 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. And Casey is 10-9, 35 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. Oh boy. Okay, guys. So I'm going to say it right off the bat. I am not very confident with this pick, but I'm going to go ahead and give Antonina one more chance here, and I'm going to pick her to win this one. So both fighters are not the greatest in their division, and they both are mainly strikers, but I got to lean Shevchenko being the better striker. I think she's a little bit more technical. She does pack a punch at times. She can take Casey down if she wants to, but she mainly doesn't go for takedowns that often. But I do think she'll have a lot of success if she does. And with Casey, she's very tough. She does throw a decent amount of volume. She's not very technical, but does have some power in her hands. But like I said, her takedown defense is awful. It's at 37%. So if Shevchenko, like I said, if she wants to take her down, I do think she'll be able to very easily. And the way I see this fight playing out, it's probably going to play out on the feet. Maybe Shevchenko goes for a takedown here and there to seal some rounds, but I do think this will go to decision, and I'm going to say Shevchenko wins this one by a decision. Next fight we have Amin Zahabi versus Ricky Turcios. Zahabi is 8-2, 34 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. And Ricky is 11-2, 29 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. All right, so with my pick here, I'm going to pick Ricky to win. Honestly, I think this is a really good matchup for him. I think he's going to be the more active fighter. He's going to throw more volume. He always stays in his opponent's face, and he's really good grappler as well. Zahabi is mainly a striker. He's not going to go to the mat very often, but he's kind of low volume, and I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Ricky in this fight, so he's going to have to be more active. Otherwise, he's just not going to win this fight. And another thing, Ricky has very good cardio, and like I said, he likes to push a pace on his opponent and stay in their face. And I just see Ricky just outstriking Zahabi for all 3 rounds, and this fight is going to go to the decision. So with my pick here, I'm going to say Ricky wins this one by a decision. Next fight we have is Cynthia Calvillo versus Nina Nunes. Calvillo is 9-4-1, 34 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. And Nunes is 10-7, 36 years old, 5'5" with a 64-inch reach. All right, so we got another fun women's MMA fight. And again, I'm going to give Calvillo one more chance here, and I'm going to pick her to win this one. So I think Calvillo is the more well-rounded fighter in this fight. I think she's going to have the better wrestling. Her striking, I think, is on par with Nunes. And for me, if Calvillo wants to win this one fairly easily, she just needs to use her wrestling and take down Nunes, which I do think she'll be able to. But if this fight does play out in the feet, it could probably go either way. And I do think this fight will go to decision, but if Calvillo can just use her wrestling, get some takedowns here and there, stay on top control, I do think she'll cruise to an easy decision win here. But it's women's MMA. You never know what's going to happen. So with my pick here, I will trust Calvillo to use her wrestling and win this one by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Michael Johnson versus Jamie Mullarkey. Johnson is 20-17, 36 years old, 5'10" with a 73.5-inch reach. And Mullarkey is 14-5, 27 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Okay, so in this fight, I'm not going to lie, I've been going back and forth with this one, but it kind of scares me to pick either one of them, but I'm going to lean Mullarkey in this one. So I know Johnson looked really good in his last fight and won by knockout, but then again, it was Alan Patrick. He's not that great. And Mullarkey's last fight was against Turner, who is a monster, so I don't blame him for losing that fight, but that was 3 months ago, and he got brutally KO'd by him. So I don't know if he's going to be coming back too quickly or not, but we'll see in this fight. So Johnson's going to be the boxer here. He doesn't really go to the mat. He's mainly a striker, and Mullarkey does have pretty good striking, and he can take this fight to the mat if he wants to. He has decent wrestling, so that's what I'm hoping that he does. I hope he can mix in the takedowns here and there and not just keep this fight a boxing fight. And we all know that Michael Johnson has very suspect fight IQ, so if this fight does get to the mat, Mullarkey has a very good chance to get a submission because Johnson has no idea what to do on the mat. If this fight stays on the feet, it's going to be a close one again, but I'm going to lean Mullarkey to win here, so with my pick, I'm going to say Mullarkey wins this one by a close decision. Next fight we have is Jared Vanderaa versus Chase Sherman. Vanderaa is 12-8, 30 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. And Sherman is 15-10, 32 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Oh yeah, this is where the fights get going here. So this is the Battle of the Trash Cans Part 1. And with my pick, I will be picking the lesser of the two trash cans, and I'm going to say Vanderaa wins this one. So I'm going to make this really short. I just don't think Sherman should be in the UFC. He was cut already, and then magically he reappeared against Romanov because I just think the UFC needed somebody to fill in, and he was the only guy that willing to do it. And I just think he's here for a paycheck. I don't think he cares about winning anymore. He knows he's not that great. He's just a boxer. He doesn't really have a lot of power in his hands. And once he gets to the mat, he's going to get submitted or he's going to lose by a ground and pound knockout. And honestly, Vanderaa, that's something that he can definitely do. He could take this fight to the mat. He can use his ground and pound and get a knockout. He even can get a submission, but I'm leaning towards the ground and pound knockout here. And like I said, Vanderaa is not the greatest fighter in the world, but he does have good cardio. And there's no submission threat for Vanderaa here because Sherman is not good on the ground, like I said. So to me, this is a layup win for Vanderaa. If Vanderaa cannot win this fight, he is the new trash can of the heavyweight division, #1. And he should be cut from the UFC. So with my pick here, I'm going to say Vanderaa does win this one, and it's going to be by a ground and pound knockout. Next fight we have is Jamie Pickett versus Denis Tiuliulin. Pickett is 13-7, 33 years old, 6'2" with an 80-inch reach. And Tiuliulin is 10-6, 34 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. All right, so this is battle number 2 of the trash cans here. And with my pick, I'm going with the lesser of the two trash cans, and I'm picking Jamie Pickett to win. So again, I'm going to make this one really quick. So for me, Tiuliulin is first round knockout or bust. Most of his wins have come by first round knockout, and if he doesn't get the first round knockout, then he loses. But he's mainly a striker, and he does have pretty good power, but his cardio isn't there. And I do think Pickett can survive the first round at least. He does have good cardio, he has decent striking, and he does have a decent clinch game as well, which can wear down Tiuliulin. And here's a little fun fact. Denis absorbs 6 strikes per minute, and he has a 37% striking defense. So I really do think Pickett can get a knockout here. I'm going to lean that this fight goes to decision some crazy rare way. So with my pick, I'm going to say Pickett wins by decision. Next fight we have is Said Nurmagomedov versus Douglas Silva de Andrade. Nurmagomedov is 15-2, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And Andrade is 28-4, 37 years old, 5'7" with a 68.5-inch reach. All right, in all honesty, back to the fun fights now. And with my pick, I'm going to pick Nurmagomedov to win. So both guys are mainly strikers, but I'm going to give the technical edge and the little bit more explosive guy to Nurmagomedov. Andrade does have good power in his hands. He showed that in his last fight, but I just think Nurmagomedov's going to be too quick for him. He's going to be too technical, and I really think he should be able to outstrike him for 3 rounds. Both guys have solid ground games, so I don't think this fight will go to the mat, and I also don't think that there will be a finish here, so I do think it will go to decision, but like I said, I just think Nurmagomedov's going to be able to outstrike him for 3 rounds, and so with my pick, I'm going to say Nurmagomedov wins by decision. Co-main event time here, we have Caio Borralho versus Armen Petrosyan. Borralho is 11-1, 29 years old, 5'10" with a 75-inch reach. And Petrosyan is 7-1, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 71-inch reach. So I'm actually really excited to see this fight. And before I get into my breakdown, I just want to say I think Tapology's numbers are wrong here. I want to say Borralho is a little bit taller than 6'1", because in his last fight, he was way taller than his opponent, and I think they had it listed at 6'1". But nevertheless, Caio has really good technical striking, he has really good grappling and submissions, and Petrosyan is a very good kickboxer. He's got good power as well, but he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, which is at 37%. He does work himself back up a lot, and he doesn't accept being on the bottom, but he's going to have a tough time here because I do think Caio is going to be able to out-wrestle him and work his grappling. But if this fight does play out on the feet, I do think Caio will be able to hold his own. And he has, like I said, he has very good technical striking too. So he's not a fish out of water when he's on his feet. But I just think Caio is smart enough to know he has the advantage on the mat. He's going to be the better grappler, and he possibly could get a submission here. So with my pick, I'm going to say Caio does use his grappling. He gets him to the mat, and eventually maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round, he gets that submission. Main event time here, we have Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev. Dos Anjos is 31-13, 37 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And Fiziev is 11-1, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 71.5-inch reach. All right, so we have the battle of the Rafaels here, but this is going to be a really good fight. And I already broke this down a while ago when they were supposed to fight originally, and I ended up picking Fiziev then, but you know what? I did a little bit more research, and we were able to see RDA in his last fight against Moicano, and I'm going to pick RDA here to get the upset. So I know RDA is the older guy, but like I said, he just fought recently, and he showed me that he's still tough. He can go 5 rounds, he can wrestle for 5 rounds, and he can stand and bang if needed. And with Fiziev, he's a great kickboxer, has very good power in his hands, very quick, but he does slow down as the fight goes on. And if RDA can keep a good pace on him or wrestle him early on, I just don't see Fiziev lasting for 5 rounds. And for me, that is going to be the way RDA wins this one. He needs to push a pace on Fiziev. He needs to wrestle him or get him in a clinch, something along those lines, and just wear him down for 5 rounds to get the win. Fiziev does have good takedown defense, so it's not going to be easy. That's going to be his path to victory for me. If not, it's going to be really close. With my pick, I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to say RDA wins this one by a very close decision. All right, guys, so those are my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 58, but don't go anywhere. I'm going to go over my bets so far in 3, 2, and 1. The first bet I have is a straight bet. I bet 1.25 units on Lawrence to win, and I got that at minus 115. So I already broke down all these bets in the previous predictions, but I just like Lawrence a little bit more on the feet. I think he's the more technical striker. I think he's going to have a little bit more power. And also, if he does want to use his wrestling, I think he'll be able to take down Kakhramonov, but he's just going to have to be safe because he is playing with fire because Kakhramonov does have good submissions. But either way, I like Lawrence on the feet more, and he has good wrestling so he can get some control time, and he should be able to win this one by a decision. The next bet I have is another straight bet. I bet 1.25 units on Kennedy to win, and I got that at minus 110. So for this fight, I just can't overlook Kennedy's massive height and massive reach advantage here, and I'm just not the biggest fan of Roberson. I don't think he's that great. He's normally a middleweight moving up to light heavyweight, and Kennedy is just going to be way too big for him. Roberson's not going to be able to take him down and use any of his grappling. So for me, I just think Kennedy's going to eventually be able to touch him up, maybe in the second round, and get that knockout. The third bet I have is yet another straight bet. I bet 1.25 units on Gore to win, and I got that at minus 110. So again, Gore is going to be the better striker. He's going to have more power in his hands. And Brundage is not a good striker. He's mainly a wrestler. He's going to want to try to grind this fight out and get to the later rounds. But Gore has really good takedown defense. I just think that Gore is going to be able to pick his shot. He's eventually going to be able to land it, and he's going to get the knockout, maybe in the second round. And my next bet is the Battle of the Trash Cans 2-fighter parlay. So before I get into this one, I will advise this is probably not the greatest bet to follow. So bet at your own risk. I actually locked this bet in last night when I was a little under the influence, and I looked this morning and I saw that I did it and I kind of laughed out loud, but I'm going to roll with it. And I bet 1 unit on Vanderaa and Pickett to win, and I got that at plus 147. So all jokes aside, I know these guys aren't the greatest fighters, but their opponents are much worse than them. Sherman has 0 ground game, so I do think Vanderaa will be able to take him down and get the ground and pound knockout eventually. And with Pickett, I think he'll be able to survive the first round because Tiuliulin is first round knockout or bust. And after that, I think Pickett will be able to win a knockout or maybe win a decision. So either way, trash can parlay, it's going to happen. Let's do it. And my last bet so far is another 2-fighter parlay. I bet 1 unit on Borralho and Nurmagomedov to win, and I got that at plus 125. So for me, I just think both of these fighters are the more well-rounded fighters or just the better fighter in this matchup. Borralho is going to have a huge advantage in the grappling department, and Nurmagomedov is going to have the advantage in the striking department. So if they use both of those advantages in their matchups, I do think they should be able to win this one fairly easily. And both fights are going to be fun to watch, and I wouldn't be surprised if both fights come down to a close decision, but I really like both these fighters to win. Alright guys, those are my picks, predictions, and bets for UFC Vegas 58. Thank you everybody for watching, and make sure you check back on this video in the comment section or check my Instagram for any added bets throughout the week. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend, and until next time, happy fight night.